Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Cherry.
Cherry.
Hi.
So welcome to Aligning with Intentions Week. And just to start off and get us properly aligned, we're going to revisit the last 4 weeks, just a refresher, touch up. So week 9 is intention.
Mm-hmm.
And during intention week, we pay attention to what things we want, where we're putting our energy, and hopefully, make a list of the things that we intend.
And it's our emotional intention.
Intention is emotion.
Is emotion.
The things that we want.
Okay.
So we do a lot of things on the fly, reacting emotionally. Our intentions can change based on emotion. We move into Resources Week, where we connect spiritually. We take a look at what is available to help us reach our intentions. And then in week 11, we come back and actually align with intention to figure out whether our actions support the things that we want.
Faith without works is dead.
So do you write all that down?
Ideally, you have written a list.
Okay.
Ideally, you have checked all your available resources.
Okay.
And ideally, you are now sitting in front of a perfect list where you can just align everything, cross eyes and dot T's, and you're good to go, and life is perfect, and you, ascend?
You go all
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Okay.
So ideally, yes. But this is reality,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes even if we wrote our list, we can't find it. So there would be an intention. Write your list in a place where you will know where it is and you can revisit it. Intentions, as we know, can include all kinds of things. How we present ourselves, the things that we want, the things that we want to get, things that we want to do, behaviors that we want to exhibit. But sometimes, even with the best of intentions, we don't have the rest of the pieces in place to support the intention. So intention gets 2 weeks specifically because 1 week is just identifying them,
Mm-hmm.
and getting yourself to a place where you can recognize someone else's or figure out what theirs are, because so many times we put an intention on another person that isn't even fair or there. So taking a break spiritually with resources in between helps you, especially for bigger intentions, figure out what all you need to make the intention happen, and then in aligning with intention, really take the steps to make the thing happen. Almost like if you were going to write it, writing it as if it has already happened. That's one really good way to align with intentions. Write down something that you want as if it has already happened, put it away and walk away, and if the intention is supposed to happen, then it will. That's sort of a industry standard.
I sometimes have clients write things for a birthday 2 years in the future. Just kind of free flow it, and then they can go back over it and cull through and find out what their intentions are. Because a lot of times the soul wants to have more conversation and dialogue, but we can use the ego defensiveness or the ego's fear, or it's stubbornness. Ego wants to be right, and so, or the shadow side of it wants to be right, which means someone has to be wrong. That's why I've intended when my clients are late that they do not apologize for being late for their appointment. So and how I've aligned with that intention is if they come in late, I have them thank me for my patience and my flexibility, not apologizing for them being late. Because the intention and the alignment of intention, particularly if you are a marginalized person, Black, Indigenous people, color, women, we're taught to apologize. And so one of the things that I've intended this year is no blaming for being apologetic or sorry. Just thank the other person or appreciate the other person's understanding in that way. It's and it's a small thing, but then it's not a small thing. And this client that was late today, she just didn't have a resource. She couldn't control that there was a water line that broke outside her property, and she couldn't drive over it until they turned it off. So it wasn't anyone's fault. But if you got caught in, oh, I'm sorry, I'm this and that, then it could be, then you start off the connection, I think, out of balance.
And then there's something to learn from, let's say she was aligned with the intention. She made an appointment, she's ready to leave to come see you, and then something unforeseen happens. If intentions that we're aligned with don't happen, there's a lesson in that too.
Yes.
Generally a lesson in patience for one or both.
Well, tell me about it.
And in control.
Yes.
And in control. So aligning with intention, the exercise is really about creating a personal mission statement. And even if it's just for that day or just for that week, but if you have a personal mission statement and you have your values and ideals sort of set and you know what they are, it's a lot easier to make all of your choices align with your intentions. All this
His point with a choice.
intentions for us to pay attention.
Okay, with him, yes.
So if we have that mission statement, then it puts us in a position to consider always how we're treating other people, to consider how we want to be seen in a moment, to take our reactions down a notch and put intention towards them, so that instead of just blowing up, there's an outcome, a desired outcome that you're intending to achieve. By having these, a notebook for each session, and I'm getting better, and this is an intention that I'm gonna align with this week, because I just showed him before. I'm transcribing notebooks that are just random, and if I put an actual notebook for each one of these sessions, then I know when I did things or when I thought things. Right now, I've got 2 years worth of writing that's all jumbled up, and rarely do I put a date on anything, so I can't tell you which thought came first. I open up a page and start writing. So intentionally, for the next session, I will have a notebook specifically for that session, and that way, if I'm looking at a values and ideals list, I'll know which session it's from.
So 12 notebooks,
Well,
or one notebook for a whole session.
probably, it depends on how much you write, but
Okay.
I'm about one notebook per session, but I do a lot of writing.
Okay.
I wouldn't expect.
No, I just find it I'm going to, I have legal pads and notebooks and whatever, and it just really depends on a mood thing for me in terms of intention and alignment. Like just this week, I wrote something for the lunar eclipse, posted part of it on Facebook, but I didn't wrote a longer piece that never got to my website or got anywhere. And then the next day I looked up and said, what am I going to do with this? And so my intentions weren't aligned with the resources, because I had to think with the little computer, and then I just lost track of it. And so the alignment versus intention versus alignment with intention, I see the resources as, when you look over your resources, do you react to maybe not having enough time or having enough whatever it is that you think you need? And again, a lot of times that's ego, I believe, that the ego reacts. It gets, since I had the little damage to my computer, got a little bit pissy about that. And so the alignment with the intention was not strong, and was not stronger than what I perceived to be a lack of resources, which is all ego. That making sense?
I follow that.
Yeah, and so it was a lesson in ego reaction and reactionary versus the soul's response. Because this morning I started rereading over what I didn't post, and just started writing onto it. Just said, well, it's still good information. Just because you didn't get it before the eclipse, it doesn't make the information any less valuable.
And completing your own intentional
you.
thoughts is just a finishing point for you.
Oh, yeah.
So back to,
Yeah.
if emotions rules intention, and we make a lot of our intentions based on emotional decisions or emotional situations.
And they need to keep the present moment in it. I intend to complete this task, or I intend to be nicer about whatever. Is that?
Like that, and then just seeing yourself being nice, seeing yourself complete, taking that step to actually align. And there are several ways to align, but when we make those decisions based on emotion, they might not stick the way that we meant them when we said them. I have a friend a long time ago who got really angry, and his intention was to come deprive a business of something for the next 8 weeks. That was going to be their punishment. That intention was very, very real when he first made it. However, 1 week later, he was no longer aligned with that intention because he was no longer angry.
I don't know who she's talking about.
So we don't need to say who right here. But it's a very good lesson in sometimes the intentions that we set don't need follow through. And sometimes a breather around whether this needs to happen is a good thing. Sometimes the universe is going to decide whether it deserves to happen. Sometimes you haven't done the work to get the intention that you want. So that's why, we don't get what we want all the time. Sometimes there needs to be some work around it. Sometimes there needs to be a resource that comes in and helps. Sometimes, as much as you want to have your clean house, you might go years without a clean house because you've never actually aligned with doing it. You're always trying to. So with intention, we can get ourselves stuck in a state of trying to do something that we mean to do rather than actually accomplishing it.
Doing it, yes.
I can see the intention of helping me with the novel, because you make a point saying, we'll do 2 hours or whenever it is, because you'll make a point of doing that. But I see that you've made the intention of doing that. And I want you to know I'm very appreciative of that, because it helps me. I don't have any reason to be impatient, because what happens is what you are doing is very satisfying to me.
And that's a really good example.
That is a good example.
Because I can remember when you aligned with that intention. It was a few weeks ago. He'd been talking about, we need to, and I think you had sent me something at one point, and had mentioned a couple times, I need to look at Cherry's work. We need to look at Cherry's work. And then there was a day that we had something, and you said, well, I'm going to use that time. I'm going to go ahead and edit Cherry's work. And now I'm hearing him say that he set up a specific time.
Yeah.
That's aligning with the intention to do it.
And you did a reminder.
I did, but the point is,
You.
I have asked 3 or 4 people to look at it, and they always say that they'll do it, and then I recognize,
Well, the other thing is that's why I like because I didn't understand the first couple of times I went through this, why resources was in the middle. It just didn't, and this is probably the first time that I get it on all levels of existence, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and physically, that the resources in them, I have the resource, the intention is what I have to offer. And then it's about, in my mind, setting the time to match with the intention. And because we talk about we don't have enough time, we don't have enough, and in that way, I think it's more like that article, that blog. It's more where we either don't make the time or we're not clear on our intention, so the time is not opened up for it to operate. But if I know that at least once a week, I'm going to be reading My intention is for you to get this work finished. Then, because it's important to you, and then and it's something we can do together. Then to align with that, it's just knowing when my schedule is looser, or allow my schedule to be more fluid and flexible. And then again, this client I saw today, she's teaching her 8-year-olds and 5-year-old, I believe is the younger one, yoga. And since the father cooks a lot of the times, the 3 boys are learning to cook. And so their intention is, as a family, to do things together that transcend gender. And so, and they're aligning with the intention through their work. And so it's this level of seeing it reflected.
Intentions, we put a whole bunch of them out there. And there are some that we're going to grab onto and say, I need this one, I want this one, I'm going to put extra effort to this one. So it's putting that extra effort and realizing where your energy goes, so that the energy that you want aligned with your end product is there, and that energy isn't being given out in other ways to things that you're not paying attention to.
If you're writing or my reading your Bordello story, I can already see how it has affected some of how I write stuff, how I want to write stuff. Where I'll see, oh, that sentence was a little too long, or I could add something more metaphorical here, instead of, because I don't want to just say, Venus is in Scorpio, therefore. I mean, that just, to me, is just...
You got to figure out new ways.
Yeah, I mean, that's just dull. I think that and it feeds into the intention that people have about astrology, is that it's fortune telling and it's about the future. No, it can be those things, but I see it as a reflective tool, a resource for your reflection, to know when is a good time to align with your intentions. But I think it's more important to know what your intentions are, what your resources are, and then, like for instance, when the moon, the daily mood is in Earth element, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, I'm more likely to follow through with actual physical alignment with my intentions, because those are physical moon signs. So, I vacuumed the floor when the moon was in Taurus, because I knew that's where it was, and it gave me the alignment with my energetic intention. And that's just my resource.
And if let's say you're going to do it on a day when the moon's in a water sign, you're going to have to find some extra motivation to get there, rather than just doing it because it's aligned.
Mm-hmm.
This program in particular, our raw material, deepens your alignment with your intentions the more you do it. And the more you understand it, and the more the framework becomes just a natural part of your thinking, it deepens your ability to align with every intention, and to recognize when you're putting energy towards something that you're not intending. So again, back to my intentions and aligning on my way home here today, I'm going to go buy a new notebook for the December session and be ready to go with that, and have this session's, at least my list from this session, ready and accessible for that work, so that when I compare them, I know what I'm actually comparing. Because this time I was looking at a values and ideals list that might have been from a year ago and might have been from summer. I'm not sure, because I'm not sure when I wrote it. Those things don't change a whole lot, but they change subtly enough that the differences are worth noting.
Yeah, and I'm more likely to put stuff on time when I'm writing something that's longer, or some idea pops in. I will put a date on it, but it's not consistent. I get what you're saying, that you can write and know when you've written, and then other times You have no idea.
And I've thought about putting a date on things sometimes. Like I've floated the idea of that intention, but I've done nothing to align to it. Whereas when you're in school, you sit down, you write your name, and you write the date on your paper. I mean, that's what you do. I've lost that. 52 years old. I haven't been in school long enough to align with that anymore. It's gone. But I should get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, we will gather next week for our final week of this session. And we've done a fantastic job aligning with the intention to record every week. We have done it without fail. Even when something got in our way, we just moved it a day.
You really have, yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's been an anchoring. It's been an anchoring tool. I just think I didn't know that I would be in it this way. But it has been really good in terms of aligning and bringing it into earthly dimension, because so much can be in what is it, that road to hell? The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly.
And so it's that aspect of it is that because you need the alignment behind it,
Well, that's helpful to me.
I'm sensitive about the word try. Oh, I'll try to. No, either do it or don't do it. Don't, because when I hear try, it's
like me with somebody say, well, that's interesting. That
Well,
bothers me.
it's misaligned with intention.
Okay.
It leaves it open-ended, and it may or may not catch. So if somebody's trying something, they're putting you in a situation where you're waiting to see if it's going to happen or not. So having intentions and figuring out how to align them to what you want becomes a really important piece of this work. Next week, we get to put all of the pieces together as we talk about wholeness. And
Yeah.
we will see you next week.
yes. And so have a good 1st of December, and we'll be looking into wholeness. Good deal.